Do you know what happens when you are earning in USD, but you are paying your bills in euros? I learned the hard way moving to Portugal with my digital marketing business, but being forced to adapt taught me a very valuable lesson and skill that any entrepreneur should have: how to build a global online presence and attract clients from anywhere. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how I did this, the mistakes I made, and why in August 2025 it proved to be a good choice. I was a digital marketing expert for over 20 years helping my clients build their online presence. But I was terrible at doing it for myself. I always tell my clients you need to create content and optimize for it. You need to be associated with the words and the problems that you solve, and you have to be consistent. That is the bare minimum of what you have to do. But I wasn't doing that. I was basically invisible online corporately, describing like what I did as a business, and that could have cost me everything. Now, before I moved to Portugal, I had a relatively comfortable digital marketing setup. I had clients before I left the US, and so I felt comfortable when I moved to Portugal. Now, traditionally, the euros are worth more than USD, but when I first moved here, it wasn't by that much. And with this new American administration, the US dollar has been tanking a lot. Now, I knew I needed to diversify and not just count on US clients and get clients from all over the world, but I really dragged my feet. And to be honest, I knew I needed international clients, but I didn't really know where to start. And because everything was normal per se, I didn't really push the effort or make much effort. Fast forward, America chose their fate, and I realized I really can't depend solely on US income, not to mention the US dollar. Again, we don't know how low it may go. And so again, paying bills in euros and earning in USD was just something I could not be dependent on. So I finally started following my own advice. I started creating content that explained what I did and the problem that I solved. As the US dollar continued to drop, I knew I made the right decision. Now, I did this back in January, and I'm going to talk to you about what I did. And now that it's August, I was showing up. I think it took me about 4 months to show up now. But as of August 2025, I'm showing up in LinkedIn search for the problem I actually solved. I also signed up for freelancing websites in the UK, US, and in parts of Europe. And now I'm getting inquiries from all 3 regions. So I want to talk to you about the 4-step LinkedIn strategy that made me visible internationally. So here's how I did things differently than most people who are trying to build on LinkedIn. I posted every single weekday for 4 months to my non-existent audience. That sounds crazy, but hear me out. Every post followed the same formula. State a specific problem my ideal client faces, then provide a practical step-by-step solution they could implement immediately. No fluff, no motivational quotes, just actionable advice. And here's the key. I had 0 CTAs initially, and I wasn't asking for anything. I was just the new kid on the block sharing valuable information. This was critical because I was simultaneously sending strategic connection requests, and I knew people were going to stalk my profile. I needed them to see I wasn't some weirdo trying to sell them something. I was someone who actually knew what they were talking about. So I had to create content that demonstrated that. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't want to post content on LinkedIn every day. What would I even say? Listen, with AI, it is very doable, and that's totally how I did it. But I didn't just go into ChatGPT or Claude and come up with some generic post. I knew I needed to incorporate specific keywords so that I can be associated with those keywords when people are searching for them. And here's the thing, when you're applying for international contracts, so many of them want you to specifically apply on LinkedIn, or they want to see your LinkedIn profile. So I couldn't even get around it if I wanted to. I had avoided LinkedIn the whole time I lived in the States because I didn't want to be there. But now, when in Rome. So it ends up being that your content history ends up being your portfolio. If you want to show up for international clients, you need to think beyond your local market. And here's what I've learned. You want to use your industry keywords in multiple languages, specifically the languages that you want to be associated with. You want to post during global business hours. I have clients in the US in addition to clients in the UK and Europe. And so you want to make sure that you're posting off and on. So let's say 2 of your posts per week can be optimized for a US audience, and the other 3 to 2 will be posted for a UK European time frame. instead of just talking about US companies and what you've done with the US companies, I mentioned European brands and global challenges. Okay, here I realized my mic wasn't on, so I'm going to do a voiceover. So here you see that I have marketing and AI automation specialist. I'm helping businesses in Europe and the US automate lead generation, onboarding, and retention. So I started off with no connections, no followers, and it's not a lot, but it's actually pretty good over the course of the couple months I've been doing it. And here I want to show you I have 312 post impressions over the past 7 days. 41 people have come to my profile for as views, and then I show up in actual search. The goal was to signal that I understand international business, not just American business. Now, on Sundays is usually when I plan my LinkedIn content for the week. I usually do it over breakfast, and I sit down and kind of think about what's been going on in the news in my industry. Were there any questions that my clients had about any customer wins or case studies, my methodology? Now, I built an AI LinkedIn post generator for myself, and I've also given it to a couple of my clients. You do not need a LinkedIn post generator, but what I did was I trained this generator on my clients' pain points, my methodologies, certain frameworks I have, and those types of things so that it would already have that information. Again, you don't need a personal solution like this. You can use any large language model that you want and just upload all the information about your company and your customer pain points and that type of thing. I just didn't want to keep doing that every time I went to a large language model. So I built something internally for me and for my clients. You don't need that. So again, on Sunday is basically when I would sit down, think about all the stuff that kind of happened that week and write the post based on that. Basically come up with 4 to 5 posts per week, and I would schedule them out. Voiceover again, and let me show you how to schedule your posts. You're going to come down here and type all of the posts of each post at a time, hit schedule, pick out the date in addition to your time, and then you're just going to hit the next button. And then you can also view all the posts that you have scheduled for the week in case you forgot. You can do this for months, weeks, for as long as you want. I just do it for 7 days. So again, I would schedule this Monday, usually through Thursday. I just noticed that on Fridays, I get less interaction on the posts at times. But if you're just starting out, like you haven't created content at all, I would suggest post every day, because right now you have to create enough content so that when you would start coming up in search for certain words, and the more content you have, the better. So if you're just starting out, go ahead, do it 5 days a week. If you want to do it 7 days a week. Because again, you need content because you're just starting out. I started this process back in January. Okay. I didn't just start this yesterday. So I'm talking about the seed you kind of have to plant so this can start to bloom into something that could be worthwhile. Now, when it came to making connections on LinkedIn, I made sure to make strategic connections. When you think about it, people don't want you to be selling to them on LinkedIn. Nobody desires that. And if you go into somebody's messages asking to jump on a quick call, people who don't know you don't want to do that. Again, you're going to make all the posts that show that you know how to do what you're doing. Let me actually show you what some of my posts look like. So I want you to pay special attention looking at the titles. In the titles, it clearly defines who this post is for. So in this one, it's anyone who takes orders. And in that, I'm talking about how they can put AI to save them money, and what that looks like, and actionable steps they can do, in addition to an implementation strategy, pilot programs, real results, and how they can implement this. Again, pay special attention to the titles. Would stop bleeding cash on excessive inventory. So when I'm reaching out to companies that deal with inventory, I can show this post that says, this is how AI can help you save money. And it's not me pitching anything. I'm sending this as though this can be helpful. And if they're interested, they respond back to me. And this is the standard template that I use: who it's for, the benefit, how to implement it, and what the results are. So I identify companies or individuals I want to work with, and I may peruse through their LinkedIn, see any type of challenges they are having, any particular type of contracts that they are offering. And instead of me just, let's say, applying on LinkedIn, I can submit one of the posts I've already written along with an introduction saying, hey, I see you're hiring for this position. I've done something similar to this for other clients. Here's a post in which I talk about it. So that shows immediately that you know what you're talking about. You're not just applying for a position or putting in your resume. You've actually created content that thought about the issue. So if I saw a SaaS company that, let's say, was advertising for either account executives or some type of lead generation specialist, I'd send them a post about how I generated 50 leads for a client within 30 days, making sure it is a SaaS company. And I can say, I see your company is looking for ways to generate leads. Here's a way that I built a system for a client. I thought this might be useful. This gets your foot in the door. This is about creating relationships again, right? I don't ask for anything. I don't pitch anything, just value. And because I'm posting consistently, when they come over to my profile, they know I'm a person who's very active in this. I know what I'm talking about because I got so much content that shows that. I provided months of content proving I know what I'm talking about. So now we're in August, and as that dollar keeps dropping, I am now associated with the key terms that I wanted to be associated with. International clients are finding me, and instead of hunting for them, they're looking for me. Now, this LinkedIn strategy is just one part of the puzzle, but it was the foundation. If you want to see the exact content framework I used, the templates, the posting schedule, optimized tactics, check out this video right here where I break down my complete LinkedIn marketing system. Literally saved my business as an immigrant.